Hello, my little ninjas. My name's Mike, and this is my YouTube page, Mox News, and welcome to your 420th episode of Mox Talks. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is a call-in show, beside a bong hit show, and which means the telephone number is up there on the screen, 805-669-6397, 805 Mox News. So please feel free to call at any time. Operators are standing by. Now, if anybody knows, I would love for them to tell me how many call-in shows are currently going on YouTube. Because the way I see it, not many. Let's see, punch that button, and you punch that button. Hello, caller.
Hey, Mark.
What's up, G?
So do I count too early for your phone hit?
I'm going to do a bong hit in a minute. I'm going to start doing bong hits at the beginning of the show. I'm going to do a bong hit in the first 10 minutes of every show now, because those of the people, the wonderful people who show up on time, should get a little something extra. So I will be doing a bong hit in the first 10 minutes of every episode moving forward. Was that your question, Manny?
Well, I mean, am I doing a good job of keeping this over in the first 10 minutes?
I don't think so.
All right, Mark. Just gonna say hi.
Oh yeah.
I think it's a small.
You think what?
So, what do you think about the Inflation Reduction Act?
It's stupid. There isn't any. No one gives a fuck about the American people. In Washington, D.C., the professional politician class, not a single one of them cares about the American people. So all of these, and when something's named the Great American Inflation Act or anti-inflation, when it's this like American Wonderland, future capital of the world, it's all bullshit. There's nothing there. Okay? All it is, yeah, all you poor people get to stay poor for the rest of your lives. Woo! That's what every fucking law is in this country, so you know. What was that, Manny? I forgot.
Well, I mean, don't you hate the fact that they're hiring 87,000 IRS agents and 70,000 enforcement officers, like with actual guns?
Yeah, we did. I did a story the other night where the IRS is stockpiling. They're buying bullets and guns like crazy, Manny.
No, you know what I think is going on, man? I
No.
mean, call me crazy now, but I think they're gonna go after organized crime, but they're gonna do it Al Capone style.
What's that mean?
You know how Al Capone got? They're gonna
Yeah.
go Al Capone style.
Yeah.
You know how Al Capone fall down? He didn't fall down because of organized crime. He fell down because of tax evasion.
Because of what?
Tax evasion.
Oh, tax evasion. I think when you look at somebody like Joe Biden, or you look at somebody like Donald Trump, or you look at somebody like Elon Musk, tax evasion is part of their business. It's part of every single rich person's fucking business model includes tax evasion, and it's fucking disgusting. And you know why? Because they already have enough fucking money. Okay, they don't need to be cheating the American people, although. They'll find a way to do that anyways. But the truth is they're not cheating the American people. The government, the U.S. government is cheating the American people. You know how? Let's take all this money from the people and we'll give it to the Ukraine. Here, we need another $50 billion to give to the Ukraine. No problem. The U.S. people love Ukraine, right? Fuck you, Ukraine. Fuck you straight to hell. Sorry, Manny. I need a bong hit real bad. What were you saying?
No, that's what I think is going to happen, though. So, yes, they're going to go after the middle class, anyone who goes below the $150,000 or $200,000.
Yeah.
All those Uber drivers, all those DoorDash people, all of those like Lyft and whatever is called the other one.
Those people don't make $100,000 a year.
No, but they're gonna go after the taxes though, because they get paid as a 1099. 1099 though, and a lot of
Yeah.
these people don't declare the 1099s.
Yeah.
So they're gonna force them to declare the 1099s, and then and on top of that, I think they're gonna go even for they're gonna start taxing even the drug dealers, like the low-level drug dealers.
We'll see. That's
What I think is gonna happen. That's why I think they actually hire a lot of armed officers, because they're gonna go to the fucking streets. They're gonna go to their actual hoods, and they're gonna go, pay me my fucking car, or I'm gonna fucking send you to jail. And they don't fuck around when it comes to that, though. They don't care if they're black,
and of course,
yellow,
the gangsters are just gonna hand over their money because they're little pussy boys. But because the IRS doesn't fuck around. Yeah, let's see if the gangsters fuck around, Manny, when you come to take their money.
I'm pretty sure that's the actual goal.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Again, it's my personal opinion, though. My personal perception is they're gonna go Al Capone style against everyone, including organized crime.
Yeah, well, it's
because
obvious. Yeah.
The reason why I believe like Elon Musk is gonna, like the people like Bill Gates and Elon Musk is gonna get away with their stuff compared to organized crime or money launderers, is because at least with these people, with Elon Musk and company, they're actually making money in a legitimate way, and they're using an army of accountants and lawyers to make sure that they minimize their liabilities, though. And that's the key word: minimize their liabilities. They still pay taxes, though, but they don't pay as much as as Joe Biden.
I don't pay taxes, but yeah, I'm not gonna pay taxes. I haven't paid taxes. I'll tell you something. I haven't paid taxes since 1980. I bet you I'm doing better than Al Capone, huh?
How do you get away with that then?
Tax. IRS is illegal. A federal income tax is illegal. And often people who are taken to court to say, you must pay this money by the IRS, they point out the fact that the IRS is illegal and that federal income tax is illegal, and they get off in court, Manny.
For real?
Yeah, look it up.
I'll look it up later. But yeah, I think that's going to happen now. They're going to go to your low-level drug dealers, your crack distributors, your med guys and stuff, and they're going to say, pay me my fucking cut or you're going to go to jail. And we literally want to kill you if you don't do that. Because they're trigger happy.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but they should go after they should go after the real drug manufacturers, the big pharma, because they get, not only do they get every break they possibly can on their taxes, they get hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars every fucking year to do fucking horrific research like, I don't know, gain of function research in fucking China. Your tax dollars being used to do gain of function so we can create this evil monster disease that's currently under the control of the communist China. Fuck. Yeah, brilliant, man. Let's do that more.
Hold on. Let me finish my thought. The reason why, like the Elon Musk, the Bill Gates, the Jeff Bezos are getting away with this is because they're doing it legally. And that's the key word there. Legally.
I don't think that's necessarily entirely. I don't think that's entirely necessarily true, Manny. Just because they look like they're doing it legally, and if you went and checked their books, it still look like that. Doesn't mean that they are. Go ahead.
Let me finish my thought. Because they do have the money to pay the best lawyers and the best accountants to make sure that they minimize, and that's the key word right there, minimize the liability. Now, the difference between them and a money lender, somebody who has a little Mexican grocery store, the corner grocery store that is making, 200 to 300% margin, which is kind of suspicious, by the way, is that there are ways to know whether or not you're making legitimate ways of money or you're money laundering. There are ways and tricks and accounting tricks to figure that out. And a lot of these people are very careless. So it's a double-edged sword. So they're going to go after criminal enterprises, Al Capone style. They're going to go to your local drug dealer, your local pot dealer and stuff, and they're going to say, pay me my cut, or you're going to go to jail, or we're going to kill you.
Right, because it's not bad. It's not bad enough for you to fucking deal horrible substances to little children, but not paying your taxes. That you're going to jail, mister. Go ahead.
No, hold on. There are an actual provision in the IRS, and when you fill your 1040, where it's asking you, if you make your money in an illicit way, even if you make your money in an illicit way, you still have to pay your taxes and pay your taxes. Look it up. I'm not kidding you.
No, I'm sure that you do. The problem is, you're not going after the cartels. You're not going to go after the cartels. Number two, all these giant companies, these pharmaceutical companies, they don't pay any money. Number three, all these rich people, they don't pay any money. So, going after the drug dealers doesn't sound like correct, Manny. But I understand, according to the laws on the book, they absolutely can. I hear what you're saying. The problem is that I don't think they're going after people that are actually heavily armed. Or people who have their own private security. I think they're going after probably, people who make somewhere between $50,000 and $150,000 are going to be their main target. Because
yeah, and that's factor because I'm gonna get added to that as well. I thought within that category, Max. Now here's the other thing, Max. They're gonna go after. They're gonna find out a lot of people who were laundering money or who are doing shady stuff because there's always on their books when it comes to people doing some shady stuff with their businesses. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to go people going to your everyday American to get them more money out of them. They're going to go after the criminal enterprise, and in fact, I think they're going to dismantle a lot of criminal enterprises because of this.
I seriously doubt it, dude. But thanks for the input, because I never would have come up with that. I don't think they'll go after them mainly because it would look like the government is actually doing their job. And the government never fucking does their job. So it doesn't make sense that all of a sudden they would look like they're actually doing their job.
You know why they're doing this, man? You know the real reason why I think they're doing this? They fucking printed a lot of money 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
So they need the money back.
Yeah.
And they're desperate to get money back. For real. They're desperate to get money back. So pay their bills.
So they can ship it off to the Ukraine people, because the money they're gonna get out of the drug dealers ain't gonna be enough to cover what they spent on the Ukraine for a half a fucking second. Okay? Not one single day of what happens of the money that they spend in Ukraine, apparently, we're being told, will all the money that they collect from all the drug dealers pay for that for one single day. Okay, so the problem isn't the drug dealers. The problem isn't people not paying their taxes. The problem is the piece of shit government that thinks they should take our precious resources that our people need and ship them off to some fuckwad country where most people can't even point it out on a fucking map. Oh yeah, that's our top priority. Fuck! What, man? What was that?
You know something? You know something that's gonna piss you off, and it kind of pisses me off as well. Average American person who makes around $80,000 a year pays around 24.5% income taxes. That's their bracket, basically.
Disgusting.
$80,000. Okay, hold on. No, hold on. Average American who makes around $80,000 is around 24.5%. That's their tax bracket. A hedge fund manager can make millions and millions of dollars, and they only pay 23.8%.
I don't like this government. This government is spending money that it doesn't have. I would honestly, I would prefer everyone stop paying taxes, including the rich people. Not just for today, not for this year, just stop. Fuck this government. They need your money. They consider your money your support, And if we don't give them more money, then they don't have any support. Let's see how long their fucking piece of shit Blackwater fucking security guards stick around then.
Anyway, just want to say that.
Okay, man, it's always good to hear from you, man.
All right, take it easy.
All right, stay cool. I thought he was going to go on forever. Actually, he called and he said, I just want to say hi, Mox. And I thought he was just going to say hi and hang up. So I'm glad he went on for a minute. Because, again, this is about your voices. This isn't about what I think. I'm going to interject what I think when I think it, more or less. So, but it's really not about what I think. It's about your voices. You know, Manny kind of coming up with this idea or, you know, this thought that's going around that I haven't heard about and that I would not have thought about. I'm going to take a bong hit in just a sec if you want to get ready. I would not have thought about the fact that... of the IRS going after drug dealers.
I mean, this coalition of
All right, my little ninjas, where were we? Right, so Manny came up with an idea that I would not have thought of, that the the IRS is going to go after drug dealers the same way they went after bootleggers during Prohibition. So I would not have thought of that. I wouldn't think that it doesn't really make sense to me. But when you put it in the terms of them going after the way that they did during Prohibition, going after drug dealers, because and there was a war on the streets and there was blood, but the IRS did go after them, and they were serious gangsters, like the drug dealers of today, meaning the people that are pushing large quantities of the meth, large quantities of the heroin, of the cocaine, which all those drugs are people's personal choice, okay? And it's not because the drugs are fucking evil shit. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But that's not why we have a drug problem. We have a drug problem because of the drug war. Because the people with the problems, the people who are fucking stuck on the meth and can't get off the meth and spun to fuck, or at least spun, they're 50% of those people aren't fucking junkies on the street. My guess, a lot more than 50%, probably more like 80%, 85%, maybe 90% of those people are not, these horrific situations where you see people all sprawled out on the street, just basically melting. 90% of it's not like that. 90% of it is just what your neighbor looks like. Some lady going about her day, trying to take care of her busy world. I hear every mother say, mother needs a little help to get her through. And though she's not really ill, there's a little yellow pill. She goes running for the shelter of her mother's little helper. This is our country. This is history as humans. This is Western culture. Western culture is so fucking out of balance. People have no connection to nature. So busy and aggro everywhere, and people are mad and unhappy, and they feel cheated, and on and on. And it's not just a matter of that person feeling that way, it's a matter of all these people feeling that way, and all the energy that they're putting out into the continuum, into the world, for all of us, whether we want to or not, whether we cross their paths or not. That negative energy, which is overwhelming at this point in human history, it touches us all. It doesn't have to be this way. The entire planet, except a very small percentage of people, humans, are struggling. Which struggling is okay, but struggling because the boot of the people, of the little tiny percentage of the people who aren't afraid, who don't struggle, who don't look at the world as if it might gobble them up. Those people, they don't care. They are the boot that is on the back of the people. They are the ones who control the government that makes 40,000 new laws per year, which means that you can't go out and be a law-abiding citizen. The average law-abiding citizen, from what I understand, commits 9 felonies every single day. This is the average law-abiding citizen, just going about your normal activities. And you know why? Because they're writing 40,000 new laws a day that affect you. This adds to this negativity, this thing where people are beat down, this thing where people become more aggro, this thing where all this negative energy is going out into the continuum and spreading out amongst all the people, because anything that happens to one of us, believe it or not, affects all of us. The butterfly effect. Even if we don't know that person, there's this energy that's emitted by them. And this energy that's emitted by them, it travels in the same energy that we emit. Which means all this energy that's all around all of us is affected incredibly negatively because there's no one helping this person to figure out how to have a better life. But you know why there's no one helping them? Because everybody else is trying to figure out how to have a better life. And there's no one there to help them. There wasn't anybody there to help me. I managed to do it. But that's not true. Anybody who manages to do it, there's always people there who help them. Always. Regardless if they knew it, or they cared about it, or they appreciated it, or not. It's the truth. I never could have done the things that I have done, which I'm sure, most people would never consider great accomplishments. Probably. I don't think. I never would have been able to do that without the help of others. I never would have been able to get out of elementary school without the help of the others. None of us would be here without the help of others. Whether it was when we were young, whether it was when we were teenagers, whether it was when we hurt ourselves and we needed someone to help us out of the hole. We fell down in a hole and we broke our ankle and we needed someone to help us. And we needed medical care to make sure our ankle got better. And on, okay? So, anyone who thinks that they're just, that they didn't, I don't want to say on your own, because the truth is we're all on our own. And it's really sad, because there's soulmates in the world. There's people out there that are your soulmate. It's not just that there's one soulmate in the whole universe that's your soulmate. No, you probably have dozens of them roaming around the world right now. If dozens, if not hundreds. Okay, so and that's partially because, again, this is who we are. We're this kind of, everything that we do goes out and it touches so much. So if we weren't on this like consciousness where we're being held down and we're being told, you're not doing it right. You better fall in line. It takes money to make this happen. See, as a whole, together, those issues don't exist. Okay? If we come together, it doesn't take, it's not, no, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. Imagine looking at some fuckwad and you got 10 million people behind you. And this idiot is like this bureaucrat, this fucking, nope, you can't do that. Doesn't work that way, pal. So I am, and this is exactly the way I see the world, and this is why I talk about us coming together all the time. This is why I say both sides are the same. It's not the American people that struggle. It's not the American people that can't make a great country, because it's the American people that basically give any greatness that's left in this country. It's not the government, it's not the infrastructure, it's not the history. The only thing, I guess it's the empire, It's the empire that makes America great. That's really disgusting. To me, it makes me want to puke my guts up. To think that somehow I am involved in that whole makes me want to puke, and until I die, because I don't want to be part of this. Is so fucked up. This is so fucked up. I don't want to be part of this. And there's no reason for the people not to come together, except for that they've been brainwashed, mind controlled, mind fucked into believing those people are against you, and those people are against you, and those people are going to try and take advantage of you, and those people are out to hurt you. It's a fucking cold, cold world out there. And you know why? Because that's the way the powers that be programmed it. There's no reason for anyone in the world to go hungry. Not one single reason. There's no reason for humanity not to have everything that it needs basically for the next 100 years. Right? Meaning, supplies of food, supplies of, whatever it is that a human might need in case, let's say, everything was gone. All of a sudden, there's no more electricity. Right? EMP the fucking world. Yeah, EMP the motherfucking world. And all just goes poof, right? And in 2 weeks' time, basically all the stored meat is gone. Basically, 98% of it, all the stored meat is gone. Well, maybe not. I imagine there's probably pretty close to 95% plus. So that's a huge part of the American diet. I'm not sure how much worldwide, but it's gonna be a problem. And so much more food. Basically all the vegetation that is not grown in your backyard is going to go bye-bye almost, immediately, first 10 days. So we got no meat, we got no veggies. right? And there's absolute, I mean, this is the most basic thing, right? Is that humans prepare for the unexpected, right? Worst case scenario, just in case you're, I mean, this is what it means to be, top of the food chain, big brain, upright walking, opposable thumbs. This is what it means. You understand, that there is a possibility that something bad could happen. Now, there's no way to live your life as if, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, it could happen at any second. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. That's no way to live your life. So, what I'm saying is, humans are, they want to separate themselves from all the other creatures on the planet, and I think one of the main reasons isn't opposable thumbs, but because we can perceive things that we believe other creatures can't, right? Which is idiotic because all the other creatures, I guarantee, probably the majority of them are perceiving creatures and things that we have no idea exist. They're all around us. So we're not the only special ones on this planet. Although we are the only ones that pay taxes just to live. Not me. I don't do that. But I don't want any part of this game. It was in 1980. I was 18 years old. Ronald Reagan had just been elected president. And at that point, I said, I'm out. And it was because you could see this this militarization. Not like, oh, we got to go fight them in Vietnam. It was this militarization of the world. And I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to, I want to partake in that as little as possible. So, I would say I've tried to stay off the grid, out of the radar, but that's just not true. But what I will tell you is that there's no reason. All of these things, there's no reason. If we had a proper leadership structure, there'd be absolutely no reason for us to really worry if we were all going to go hungry when the EMP hit. If we were going to run, we shouldn't have to wonder if we're going to run out of water. This is one of these things that I keep bringing up, is that there's not going to be any more drinking water. Okay? Oh shit, I didn't get the story about rainwater. Tomorrow I will do a story about rainwater. Rainwater has just been labeled, put into the category of not drinkable. Rainwater is no longer drinkable. So I wonder what that means for feeding it to your plants, huh? Can you smoke it? And this is the planet that we're on. This is the planet that, it's not the planet that we're on. It's the planet that we created by being duped into the idea that we're all separate. That I'm going to go get mine. I'm going to go get mine. I'm going to go get what I want. And how many people that you think, take this attitude, this posture, this, stance moving forward. I'm going to get for me. I'm going to get for me. I don't get in my way. I'm getting for me. That's not a normal, human attitude. right? This a normal human way to think. I don't think that when you talk about being, the smartest creatures on the planet, it seems like to allow, millions and millions of people starve to death, to allow wars to spread more and more so that people can make money, to allow disease and illness and sickness so that people can make money. People that are filthy rich already. This is where we're at. This is not who humans are. This is not who humans are. Okay? Humans, see this lake? See this lake? You see the boat out there? See, they're all gathered together. Oh, I think that's a dock or something. But if you look and you think about your part in this lake, there's a kayak. Look how nice. I don't, this aggravation that you see in people. I don't know if you see it. I don't know if you look at people. I don't know if you see people when you do look at them. When I go places, I look at everyone. I look at everyone. Do my best to look them right in the eyes. With a big smile on my face. Some people actually smile back. I told you the other day, I went to the grocery store and I got out of the car, and there's this big SUV parked next to us with the window rolled down and a woman sitting in the driver's seat. And I said, "Hi." And she looked at me and I said, "Another perfect Northwest afternoon, huh?" And she smiled and she said something to the effect of "yeah." And I went in and did my shopping. And then on the way out of the store, the lady that was in front of me, I pulled up into the grocery line to check out, and there's a lady in front of me, and she looked at me and I smiled. And I'm sure that I said something, but I can't remember what it was. And then I went to check out. Well, it's one of those places where you bag your own groceries. Bagging her own groceries. And the check, and she just goes, "Here, I'm paying for his too." So, and this is what I'm talking about. This is because I didn't know who she was. When I went out to unload my groceries, she was in the truck next to me, and I didn't see her before. She might have already been in the store. And then, she couldn't have been, because she saw me be friendly. And then she saw me be friendly again. And then she gave back. "What's up, G?"
Hey, Mike. I try to smile.
You're alive!
Yeah, I am. I had quite an adventure. It wasn't what I expected, but I do. I try to smile at everybody. I even try to smile at people through the phone, Mike. So when I talk to people on the phone, I try to smile at them. So that they know that
are you dehydrated? You sound very dehydrated. Are you okay?
No, I'm fine. I
Okay.
got out last night. I was only in for 3 days, and I wasn't even in the woods. Everything was fucked up. Remember the last conversation we had?
I can hear you smiling from ear to ear. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Perfect. It's so kind of you. Okay, so the last conversation I had with you, I said, I think you said to me, I said something like, "Oh yeah, and this person I know is freaked out about vaccine mandates and says like, well, I don't see anything like that." And I'm like, well, whatever. And there were vaccine mandates. And then you said, but they're fucking real. You said, well, there actually were mandates, and they are real. People were denied rights, right? And that's about one of the last things we talked about. So I planned my little trip out, and it was like 3 bus rides, and it was really cool. Like the bus in Olympia has been free for the last year. I can get on any public bus, and it doesn't cost any money.
That's really cool, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I found a bus that went 35 miles away to Centralia for free. So I got to Centralia, and then I had to catch another bus that goes to this little town up in the Cascade Mountains where the trailheads are. And you know, normally I've taken this bus several times before, and this way I don't have to drive, Mike. This is the environmental thing to do. I can go hiking, and I don't have to drive a car or park a car at a trailhead. It's like the perfect thing to do. So I'm like, I should call and make sure the bus is on time. So they drop me off. I'm in front of a courthouse with no trees, and in Lewis County, which is one of the most conservative rural counties. They're the ones that there's this contested election in District Number 3. You may have read about this, Washington State District 3, where the sitting congresswoman is about ready to lose in the primary, and a pro-Trump supporter is going to be the congressperson in Washington State. That's what it looks like. Well, this is where I was, the district where I was. And I call, and the lady says, like, well, because things have been slow, I need to schedule a stop for you. And I'm like, well, that's fine. And then she says, are you inoculated? She says to me, are you inoculated? And I stopped. I just stopped for a second. And I said, look, Google Maps said I could get a connection at this time at 1:45. Is there a bus here at 1:45? Are you inoculated? And I said, what do you mean, am I inoculated? She says, are you vaccinated against COVID-19? This is the person on the bus dispatch, right?
Uh-huh.
And I said, I don't have any proof of vaccination with me at the moment. I don't have any ID that says that I'm vaccinated right now. And then she said, are you inoculated? And then she just didn't fucking say anything. She didn't say a word. And then I realized what she was saying, and then I'm like, look, I can't prove anything right now. I just want to get a bus to go to these little towns to go hiking. Is it possible for that to happen? And the obvious answer was no. And
What?
then I said, they would not let me on the fucking bus, Mike. All right, I just was discriminated against in Washington State because I do not have a fucking vaccination passport, all right? This just happened to me like 4 days ago. It pissed me off. I was pissed off. So I said to her, well, first of all, thank you for fucking wasting my day, because you just wasted 4 hours of my fucking day, first of all. But secondly, I'm really disappointed that I'm not going to be able to spend a single dime in any one of those struggling towns up there in the mountains that I know could use my money before I go hiking. So I'm sorry, they will not see a dime of my money. Have a nice day. Fuck, I was pissed, Mike.
I don't, this vaccine thing, this COVID thing, I told you guys this isn't going away. And I really, you should expect that it's going to get worse.
Okay. So
go ahead.
You're absolutely right about that. I don't mean to interrupt you, but to finish my story, so I was already like 35 miles away from home. I could have just gotten on the bus and gone back home. But I had met this other person from Olympia who was going on a bicycle trip. And there's this trail that goes from Chehalis, which is like, it's on the I-5 corridor, all the way to the Pacific Ocean, which is Willapa Bay. It's a 53-mile trail in one direction, and 20 miles in it passes a state park. And I was so frustrated, I went and bought a beer, and I said, fuck it, I'll do it. And then I just started walking. And for the next like 2.5 days, I walked like 20 miles. I stayed at the state park. It was all cool. But then I got these horrible blisters on my feet because I was walking on a gravel road instead of on a trail. So my feet were all fucked up. And then I hitchhiked out and camped one night in Raymond, Washington. And this is a heads up from Mike from SoCal and others, but that Raymond, Washington is the very first place that Nirvana ever played a concert in May of 1987. True story. Wild shit. So, anyway, that's what I did.
Sounds, I hope you had plenty of weed.
Dude, I had a lot of weed. And I got out, and I was basically stealth camping. So this trail runs across all of these like all this private property that's buttressed up against the trail. So, I would walk, and then, the last hour or two before night, I would try and find a place where I couldn't be seen, where I could camp, and then continue walking, which is fine. I've done stealth camping and hitchhiking and all of that before. I'm not averse to it. I find it interesting, but it isn't what the adventure was that I wanted, which was being in nature, right? When you're looking over your shoulder, listening to a dog barking, all of it, watching suburban bicyclists, it was garbage, Mike. I didn't like it at all. So tomorrow morning, I'm planning on driving a car into the woods for 3 days and seeing the meteor shower and hanging out, away from people, which is what I wanted to do. But my story here is more like I'm really pissed off about these vaccine mandates, Mike. What really pissed me off about this is there's about 4 towns from Chehalis. They're about 70 miles away from Chehalis to Chehalis. It's called Packwood, Randall, Mossy Rock, and there's one other town. There's like Morton. There's 4 towns. And basically, like, a lot of poor people live out there. They take the bus to Walmart or the bus to the grocery store in Chehalis or the bus to go do things, once or twice a month. And if they're not vaccinated, they're not getting on that bus, which just basically means they've been denied services, right? Anyone who lives on that bus route who is poor, who can't afford to drive 45 or 50 miles to town, they're just fucked. And that really bothers me, Mike. That bothers me a lot.
It's not just people who can't afford it, when you get older, you don't want to drive. But even more than that, there's a lot of people who just don't drive. I always say a man has got to know his limitations. I haven't driven forever. I could if I had to, but I don't. I don't want to. It's not just that, I would be taking this chemical spill out behind me everywhere I go. It's not just that. It's that, again, I talk about people being aggro and all the stress and tension that's in the world. Driving is a big part of that. When you drive it, there's just all these people all around you, and they got to get to work, and everything's so fucked up. So it's something I don't really want to be part of. What?
Yeah, you were talking about laws and rules and regulations. One of the basic axioms, little mottos in Chris's brain, it goes like this: cops and cars go together. It's just a no-brainer. It's like a common axiom. And as soon as you get in a car, you have all these regulations immediately imposed on you. The speed limit, the direction you're going, do you have insurance, are your license plates updated? All of those little minutia, those little pieces of regulations are ways that you can be captured and searched and interrogated by any fucking cop. So I've always seen that, like, being in a car is like much closer to the police state than walking or even being on a bicycle. That is just a fact. Like, it's much less like, although cops harass people who walk and, even people on bikes, but more often they're going to get somebody in a car.
Yeah, no, cops and cars, that's a good understanding of the way it works. And that's pretty much what I'm saying, is that once you get behind the wheel, there's, even though people do it very robotically, they turn on their music and the music's going, and, they leave home and they head for home, and then they get home and they actually don't remember 1 second of driving, right? So... Yeah,
that's frightening to think about. They're driving 40
but
or
robotically
60 miles an hour in a straight line.
Yeah, I think it's very common, dude. I think it's very, very common. So
I think that's true, and it's kind of frightening in ways. So the other thing about the car, in terms of hiking, going to a trailhead and hiking, is that if you're going to camp overnight, you have to leave the car at the trailhead. So there's this issue of property, right? You can't leave anything of value in the truck or in the car. You have to take everything out of the car and have it be super open so everybody can see inside of it, so that people don't vandalize your vehicle. So there's another disincentive to, like, I don't necessarily want to drive and leave a vehicle for 4 days at a trailhead when I'm in the woods, right? So I would much rather use mass transit, public transportation, much rather. But I don't have that option because I'm not fucking vaccinated, Mike. I'm a fucking loser.
You're not a loser. You're a free man, and the state doesn't like that.
Unvaccinated man. Right.
So
Anyway.
the state, that's unacceptable to the state at this point. You better be a sheep, or you're gonna get, we're gonna fuck you any way we can, and that's going to get worse. Okay, I know it looks like Mike from how many times have I told Mike from SoCal, Manny, other people, the COVID is not going away. You guys, I told you this. The COVID's going to go away magically right before the 2022 election. And boom, the COVID went away magically right before the 2022. And you know what's going to happen? The COVID's going to come back overwhelmingly. Oh my God, no one saw this happening. After the 2022 election. Okay? So,
yeah, and
this is the game that's being
this.
played on us. Go ahead.
And let's be honest about this too. I believe that Donald Trump is vaccinated. I also believe that recently, in the last year, he said positive things about vaccinations as well. So, once
I don't give a fuck about Donald Trump. Go ahead.
I know you don't. I don't give a fuck about him either. But the point being here is that I don't see if there's enough momentum, the Republicans are not going to resist something like increased vaccination or boosters forever or whatever.
No, man, the Republicans
resistance.
The Republicans
no meaningful resistance there.
The Republicans aren't going to resist anything that's going to make the elite lots and lots and lots more money, and apparently, COVID made lots and lots and lots of money for the rich, the super rich. So that's not going away. That's what I'm telling you.
No, it's not going to go away, and the forced regime of vaccinations and medical tyranny is just going to increase as well. So now they're going to start vaccinating people. They already are vaccinating people for monkeypox.
Yeah, right? I got something in the mail from UW Medical, which in the email, which said, your monkeypox vaccine is now available. Gee, thanks.
Yeah. So I did check out The Stranger in the last couple of
Really? Where'd you find that at?
Week. I find it online. I can't find it at the coffee shop anymore, but it's online. And it was, when I checked it out, there were like 6 or 7 stories in a row about monkeypox.
Well, The Stranger has kind of a homo bent, and
it definitely does.
Yeah,
it definitely does.
And
they weren't talking about like casualties of war in the Ukraine or like homelessness in Seattle. They were talking about like the risk of them getting monkeypox. That's interesting, Mike.
Well, I'm sure that in that community, the homo rainbow community, that that's something concerning to them. You know what I mean? It seems to be.
Yeah, well,
it seems to be almost another AIDS outbreak. So, only not death.
It definitely is. It definitely has all the hallmarks of a sexually transmitted disease. Basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Skin-to-skin contact, so on and so forth. It's almost like, why don't they just define it that way? And I think that it would be better, but they can't do that anymore. Like, it's not acceptable to say that, like, it's a sexually transmitted disease.
If they define it as a sexually transmitted disease, then there's a whole bunch of people who don't need to be vaccinated now, is there?
I guess that's it, right? Okay, well, let me rephrase that. It's a sexually transmitted disease, apparently amongst males who visit bathhouses and have multiple partners. That seems to be like the criteria. I mean, I've actually read like from the British news or from like the actual disease center for like the victims, like the target. That's almost like it says right in their definition, like people who have multiple sexual partners or at public places having sex with people.
Again, this is the
Food for
kind of
thought.
thing. I don't think that that's how all homosexuals are by a long shot. But at the same time, I think that that's something that would be concerning to the community as a whole. And it seems to be spreading through that community much quicker than the rest of them.
So I read this book while I was on my hike, Mike. It's a collection of essays by John Zerzan, who's an anarchist. And the book is called Origins. And what the book is looking at is it's looking at how people lived before the agricultural revolution. That would be for about 280,000 years for Homo sapiens.
Oh well, when
And-
was the agricultural revolution approximately?
Well, okay, so approximately about 12,000 years ago.
So 10,000 BC.
years ago. That's right, or 11,000 BC, right around there. That's right, and that's when they first domesticated wheat. They first domesticated wheat. They had domesticated humans had domesticated dogs, like at 35 to 50,000 years old. So they had domesticated dogs, but they hadn't domesticated plants and animals for food like cattle.
I think
Like
I think possibly it was fairly easy to forage back then as opposed to the way it is now. But go ahead.
for 280,000 years of our 300,000 years, the answer is yes. That's what we did.
Yeah.
And what the book is about is it's saying that we made mistakes, like that in terms of when we had done. Well, yeah. But in sense of like the biggest mistake we made was stopping in cities and towns and developing agriculture.
Yeah.
And some of the things that came out of agriculture included language, writing, numbers, all of those things. Numbers and writing were direct result of civilization. And what was the very first writing? It was tax records and land deeds. Those were the very first things that they recorded in Sumeria, like about 7,000, 8,000 years ago. Is like tax records. So that's what they used writing for. Were symbols that were written in time that people could remember, but they were used by officials first and religious people who are trying to tell other people what to believe. They were the very first people to use language as well.
Approximately when was that?
That would have been in the same time period between like 5,000 BC and like 10,000 BC. In that period of time, it's like Sumeria, Mesopotamia.
Certainly, there was other forms of communication, written, printed before that. Not printed, so much as drawn characters, like cave paintings and such.
Cave paintings, they're about like 30,000 years old.
Right.
Cave paintings in Europe are about 30,000 years old, but that doesn't necessarily. I mean, they may have had language, but we don't know if they had language. But they certainly had no written language. Representational art is what they had.
Yeah.
And also, he talks about how they had to have some kind of organization. Like we may have developed verbal skills in the Ice Age when we were hunting large animals. So like hunting woolly mammoths, hunting large oryx, hunting, wild prey. It would take 4 or 5 or 10 people to do it.
Well,
and you have to communicate with each other over space, which means like making noises and signals to the other humans to kill the animal. So that's a form. But if you think about it, that's a form of dominating nature. And for apparently like 200,000 years, we lived in harmony with nature. And in 280,000 years, we lived in real harmony with nature. But as soon as we stopped and we built buildings and we started growing things, we started dominating the natural landscape. That's traditionally called the fall from Eden. When God said you have to leave the garden and go someplace, but when you leave, you're going to grow a beard, your wife is going to menstruate, you're going to be miserable, you're going to eat this shitty food, you're going to argue with each other, you're going to hate each other. That's what God said, right? When you leave the Garden of Eden, he said that to Adam. I think.
Oh, to Adam. I thought you were saying he said it to you or something.
No, that's in like Genesis, in the Bible.
Oh, that's where he says
like
it to you? Okay.
That's where God said it. God said to Adam and Eve, He said, "You have chosen to eat."
How
from
do
the
you
tree
know
of
he
good
said that? God damn it. See what you did?
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. It's all fucking sketchy, and it's also sketchy because
Well,
the Hebrews were
yeah.
like Mike talks about the Sumerians and the Akkadians. I think he's talked about them before about visitors from the gods or whatever. They had sky gods, but a lot of the stories were regurgitated. So just like today, you watch a movie, it's just like an old movie that's been regurgitated. The same story's been retold. But like the story of the flood, the story of the Garden of Eden,
Yeah.
those same stories existed in other cultures before Hebrews rewrote the stories down in their own context.
So you were talking.
Anyway, it's interesting.
You were talking about the creation of written language. Is that what you said? Written language, like between
Right.
5,000 and 10,000. So, and you said that the first written language documented is tax records, correct?
That's right.
And what
Yeah.
you think I don't listen? And what year do you think that would have been approximately that happened? That they found the text, when
Well,
they're. Go ahead.
That would have been Sumerian writing, and I'm going to just guess 5,000 years old, but it says, here it says 3,000 BC. That's 5,000 years ago. Yeah, Sumerian writing.
And how old are like the pyramids? Because they definitely had some type of written communication.
Okay, pyramids are similar. They're a little younger, I believe, than that. The Great Pyramids. I think they're a little younger, but not much. Same time period in terms of like tradition. But I don't know. I do believe some of the stories that there may have been, earlier civilizations. But according to Wikipedia, the Great Pyramid of Giza was built in the 26th century BC. So the Sumerians would have been 500 years before the building of the Great Pyramid. But they say that they built the Great Pyramid like in less than 100 years or something, and that just doesn't seem right to me. I don't know the answer to that one, all right? But the basic, and there is this other story, the more mystical one, which I'm kind of open to it because there's just something very strange about human beings that make us different, especially like with cities. And how we stopped being animals and started pretending that we were something different. And then how we use the same technology that we developed to imagine that there's life on other planets and that we can travel in other spaces and all of these things. It almost seems like that isn't like an accident, that's the direction that we were put in. But John Zerzan argues that we made mistakes, like I said, when we started adopting language, we didn't understand that there was that men would discriminate against women using language. Language is a way of expressing control over other people.
Right.
That's one example he uses. And another one is numbers. He talks about numbers as well. When they stopped and they had these cities, what did they start counting? All the fucking grain that they were growing.
Yeah.
So they grew all of this grain, and then they had surplus grain, and the surplus grain was sold at a higher price, and then that allowed the people to buy more land, and they bought more land, and then they dominated more nature, and then once they dominated more nature, the city got bigger, and then the city moved and had satellite cities, and that's what civilization is, and that's only about 12,000 years old.
Right.
It's not really that old is what I'm saying. It's relatively new. As far as we are concerned, as Homo as a species is about 2 million years old. Homo sapiens sapiens are 300,000 years old. But as primates, we're 2 million years old. That's even a greater time than the last 12,000 years.
And as you're saying about the cities getting bigger and such, and about the creation of agriculture, this is this is one of the big mistakes, big fumbles in human history. I don't know where human history would have gone without this, but this is how people got all stacked on top of each other, is because they started farming to, agriculture, as Chris said, producing food. And then what happened is as they started to produce food better, more productively, they'd need more help. So more people would move in to help with the larger loads, and then they'd need more food. So they'd produce more food, and then they'd need more people to help the extra production of food. And this created a exponential kind of boom of people, and this is how we all got concentrated into these pocket areas, or partially.
Yeah, towns and cities, which means things like police, sanitation,
vaccine passports.
Food. Yeah, vaccine passports. Eventually, you're going to have churches and people telling you what the universe means, and people interpreting language like God. So this whole program of civilization, I'm beginning to believe it's almost designed to fail. And the extreme example of it is like these computers that use symbolic language. So artificial intelligence is like the extreme example of like human technology. Like we're getting to where like computers are going to be making all of these decisions for us. And again, it's just like completely anti-human. It's like you're not supposed to make a decision. You defer authority to somebody else to make a decision for you, and then they defer authority to technology to make a decision for you. But as a basic human being, you have no decision whatsoever in the matter. So, like, if there's going to be a nuclear war tomorrow, there's not much that you and I have to say about it. And in fact, even if we go out in the streets and say something about it, Mike, nobody's going to fucking listen to us. And that'll just be how we spent the last day on Earth, holding a sign.
Well, I guess then we should just not go out and protest wars anymore then, should we, Chris? God!
Jesus, Mike. I guess that might be the case. I don't know, I don't know, that's really frustrating to think about, but yeah, I don't know what to say about that. All right, it's all just really disturbing. The whole reality. Like we were talking about the water being polluted the other night, and how all the water that falls from the sky in the form of rain is polluted. Microplastics. Anyone can Google microplastics in water and find that there's microplastics everywhere on the planet, and even in our bodies.
Everywhere.
Yeah, and they're not going away. They're only going to affect us, which probably is going to mean cancer. If you have all these, things, these foreign objects, pieces of plastic in your body, I'm sure with chemicals, your body's going to react to them, and it's going to create cancer. That just seems pretty logical.
And in other words, you're not eating enough cannabis. Go ahead.
All right. So this was the hypothesis. Aliens recognized that primates were the most or specifically the homos, like Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo sapiens. They realized that we were the ones that were capable of destroying the planet. And they came down and they gave us the technology, and it seemed really simple and benign at the time. Look, you don't have to walk around anymore. Just grow this over and over and over again, and you'll be fine, with a smile. And then they leave, and then, 12,000 years later, the whole fucking planet is completely disturbed because the people stopped being animals and started being aliens.
I have no idea what the population would be like if they hadn't started growing their own food. I don't know if the population, the population would have to be incredibly small on the planet, like less than 1 billion people would be my guess, to be able to, forage and travel around and not really, not really have some kind of infrastructure in which, everybody does the same, collects food in the same manner, and you know what I mean? It's I don't know. There's a point where it won't work. And I don't know exactly where that is, but maybe that's the reason that things were steered this direction, because maybe when all these people start to see that there's only this small area to forage, then they go to war fighting each other as opposed to helping each other make food. You know, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I think with I mean, there are other examples of civilization breaking down. That guy, I think his name is J.S. Diamond or J. Diamond, wrote a book called Collapse, and he also wrote a book called Guns, Something, and Steel, Guns, Germs, and Steel, which are about how like different technologies have caused collapse and different, like how certain societies were not able to respond to technology and they completely collapsed, like Easter Island and the Mayans of Guatemala and different people, indigenous people around the world, how they collapsed when they were exposed to germs and technology. So, I mean, it's completely possible that this fake global artificial reality that we've created, which is already disrupted by COVID-19, trade route disruptions, and, war and all of this. But imagine if it just stopped. If all the oil stopped, if all the electricity stopped, just for a couple days. We talked about this before. EMP you mentioned earlier. I don't know. People aren't really prepared to help people out, Mike. I mean, sometimes
Which is
when there's
doesn't
crisis,
make any sense whatsoever. Can only be programmed and conditioning to make us feel that way about each other, as if there's no sense of community whatsoever. Go ahead.
So I see it like from this house I live in with like 2 or 3 people and the neighbors around us. Like I see it in the sense of there's probably like a group of about 6 or 7 houses of people who would help each other. And I imagine it goes that way all the way through these neighborhoods. Like there's probably like just the immediate people around you that you would immediately know. And then over a couple of weeks, like the resources that those little groups would have would become limited, and they would be forced to interact with other groups of people. But by that time, there's other people who are just predators and violent who will take advantage of situations, talking about like, when the electricity stops. So, I mean, it's an interesting thing to think about. There's been a lot of movies about such things, but, I mean, I do think about it occasionally. I'm actually, I'm really not afraid of Sasquatch, and I'm really not afraid of animals like cougars or bears. I'm not at all. I'm much more afraid of people than I am of nature. And I've spent many days in the woods by myself, not like, on a bike trail, but many times I've spent in the woods by myself alone. And it's the safest I ever experienced, being anywhere. The least safe places that I've experienced were being like on the street in New York City at 3:30 in the morning, walking through Chicago at 11:30 at night, in a sketchy neighborhood. Being drunk, in a neighborhood with a bunch of other drunk people. I'm much more scared of those situations than I am of being completely by myself in the woods. 100%.
People are more dangerous than nature.
Animals, yeah, they are. I mean, you can hurt yourself, like you could fall off a cliff or break your leg in a river or trip over a log or, sprain your ankle or something like that. You could hurt yourself, but, I'm not worried about like.
How much water do you carry? Do you drink out of creeks, or, I mean, how's that work? Because I drink 2 gallons of water a day.
Yeah, so I bring 2 liters of water with me, and that lasts me for 15 miles of walking normally. And then I also carry a water filter with me, so I do drink out of rivers and streams. Yep.
Well, 2 liters of water is not enough for that. You are dehydrated, I'm telling you, not asking you now, and you should consider that. See, okay. I can hear it. Well, I can hear it in you, dude. So.
All right. I should just start drinking more water. But anyway, I don't. Yeah, so like it's like 5. A gallon of water weighs like what, 5 pounds or something like that.
8 pounds. 8 pounds, yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of weight on your back. 2 liters is a lot more manageable. You just have to hike along places where you can find clean water. And like where I'm going tomorrow up in the Olympics, there's Olympic National Forest, there's clean water. where I was planning on hiking in the Giffordman Show along the Pacific Crest Trail, there's clean water. And I did take out of the river, the Shales River, but I mean, I have a pretty good water filter, Mike. I mean, I could take water from a river and I'll be fine.
My neighbor, when the world goes to shit, my neighbor has a well. This is why you want to know your neighbors. So I know, I mean, my neighbor right next door has a well, and I'm going straight there. Actually, I talk to him all the time, so I will be.
Crazy well.
No,
That'll work.
I was like, is that a well? Because he's got it in the front yard. I was like, is that a well? He's like, yes. Does it work? He's like, yes. I'm so jealous right now.
Well, that'll work for the first 2 weeks until the Gestapo show up and take you all away.
Yeah.
But the water filter is, it's really small. It's only about it's about 4.5 inches long, and it's about 2 inches wide. And, it's called a Sawyer mini filter or Sawyer squeeze. You can purchase them at Walmart for about $20. They're very inexpensive. And they're good for about 1,000 liters of water. And it's microfilters, and it'll take bacteria and a lot of things out of the water. It will make it palatable.
This is not this is not an official endorsement, people.
Not an official endorsement, but I would recommend it as opposed to nothing. The other thing that people do is they use drops of bleach. You can put 2 or 3 drops of 3 or 4 drops of bleach water in a liter of water and let it sit for 20 minutes. And then it typically is clean. And then you can boil water, but boiling water requires fuel, so you have to carry fuel with you to boil water. That's a pain in the ass, on top of it all. Anyway, I got blisters, man. I ended up getting a blister the size of $50.
You got the monkeypox? Oh my God!
Hey, fuck you. No monkeypox going on here, man. No skin-to-skin contact with any other human beings. I guarantee it. But my foot is feeling much better. It's been a day, and I can walk on it now, so I should be able to make it 3 miles to my campsite and hang out. And there's a meteor shower. I know Katrina and others are interested in stars, but the Perseid meteor shower is this weekend. And it's going to peak, Friday. And the problem is there's a full moon this weekend. So the full moon is going to be in the sky, but the full moon goes down at 2:30 in the morning, and the meteor shower starts from 11 until dawn. So there's there'll be a period of time between probably 2:30 in the morning, or maybe 2 in the morning until 6, when it'll be the best time to watch the meteor shower if you're away from lights.
So then, if you like the moon, then you go out before that, and then you can enjoy the beautiful moonlight.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
The full moon is tomorrow. So all of those dreamers.
And but it looked really good last night, and she's gonna look amazing tonight, and tomorrow night's just gonna be like ba-boom. So
I completely love the moon, Mike. I do. I love the moon. The moon is an amazing thing, and that does remind people of nature too. In a way, that romantic element of being one with nature.
Well, I hope that your feet heal up properly so that you can enjoy your weekend with nature.
Yeah, I will. And I didn't mean to cry about my story, but I was angry about that. I just find it so frustrating that public transportation anywhere in the United States would require somebody to have some vaccination card when the President of the United States has been triple vaccinated and has COVID twice. Vice President has been triple vaccinated, has had COVID. The head of the fucking National Institute of Health or whatever, he has been triple vaccinated. He had COVID. So I don't really see how or why they could even make an argument that this has any bearing on anything. It has no bearing on anything, whether you are or are not vaccinated. Hypothetically, you could get sick.
Every single person that I know that got vaccinated caught COVID. I'm not saying that it was because they got vaccinated. What I'm saying is that the vaccine doesn't seem to make a whole shit of difference.
As of this point in time, I don't believe I have had COVID-19. I mean, it's possible I have. I don't even know if it's real, okay? However, I haven't had flu-like symptoms with a fever. Let's put it that way. I mean, I have all kinds of issues because I smoke and things.
Dude, you gotta
But, like,
drink. Listen, you gotta drink more water, man, before you go back out. Okay, I can just hear it in your voice. Okay, you are seriously dehydrated right now. If you go out into the sun, you gotta drink a lot of water. Okay, I mean,
All right, Mike.
before you go.
I will. I promise. Thanks. Anyway, I'm going to listen to the rest of the show, and I appreciate your advice, and I enjoy the content of all your programs, and look forward to listening to the rest of this one. And I'll talk with you next week. All
Okay.
right? Peace.
Good to hear from you. And we were talking about Chris last night because somebody was saying Chris hasn't called yet, and I was like, Chris is out hiking. So it's good to hear from him, even though he didn't seem to enjoy his nature experience as much as he was hoping, or even close to as much as he was hoping. Humans. See, he was off to have a lovely adventure out in nature, right? And what happened was a human got in his way and said, yeah, I'm fucking up your plans. And it's because that human seemed to think that she is the boss of Chris. And, that's simply not true. The problem is there's so many people out there who somehow think they can treat you as second-class citizen because they all of a sudden got this power where they can treat people as okay. It's okay now to treat people as second-class citizens. If you have a vaccine and they don't, there's something wrong with them and they deserve to be treated like second-class citizens. This is the attitude that comes from the media. This is the attitude that's coming from the medical professional. This is the attitude that's coming from local and federal governments. This is the attitude that's coming from business owners, from large corporations, and from small business owners across the country. Not all of them, not all the small business owners, but pretty much all the corporations are like, oh yeah, you got to get vaccinated. And it's not because they were forced into making it happen. It's because, again, this is a way to control people. Not the vaccine itself, but being able to say, oh yeah, you are not welcome. Because you're a second-class citizen. And second-class people, we only serve good people here. So, and this is like I'm saying, the COVID's not going away. They love this kind of control over people, over your freedom, over your ability to move and enjoy the things that you want to enjoy as a law-abiding good person. These little petty tyrants. Petty tyrant is something very normal in societies, in large groups of people. Like one of the names that they are using now for a petty tyrant to show you how common and often you will come across petty tyrants is many of them are called Karens, because they think somehow that they're in charge of everything that's going on. So they come over to you and they say, are you vaccinated? Or do you have a permit to fly that drone? And they're not like a park ranger or something. What's up, caller?
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Manny.
Well, so what do you think about my theory? My other theory.
Which one? You have so many theories,
the one
man.
about the IRS.
I just told you. I think that it makes sense that the IRS would want to go after drug dealers. The problem is that when they did that with, bootleggers, what happened was they started wars on the street, and a lot of innocent people got murdered. And the question is how much are they willing to expand that, where little children and families are getting caught in crossfire? You know, I don't think that as much as the IRS would love that, I think that the publicity, especially at this point of, you know, the establishment killing black people and minorities, I think it would be, you know, the Karens. Not so much the Karens. The Karens would be on the side of the authority. The people who are supposed to like report, you know, like the media is going to go, the people are going to be outraged, because what's going to happen is there's going to be, you know, like I said, families caught in the crossfire again and again and again. That being said, as families become more and more outraged, and more families across the nation become more and more outraged, what will happen is the media will no longer be able to ignore it, you know, because it's going to be reported in local news. Oh, you know, 7-year caught in crossfire, IRS and you know, whatever gang, cartel members, you know. And if they were to do that, Manny, with these newly purchased guns and ammo, I think that they would quickly be shut down and vilified even more than the IRS already is. I think, honestly, with all the new acquired weapons, I think that they're really afraid that the American people are beginning to discuss revolution. And that terrifies them because they know that the IRS would be one of the first places targeted. Go ahead.
They are. No, they are. You're right. They are. Absolutely. You're making you make a good point. There's a discussion about a civil divorce. What do we call it?
War? Civil war?
No, divorce.
I don't know. I'm not sure what you're saying. I heard you say divorce, but I'm not sure what you're pointing to. Go ahead.
A civil divorce. A breakup. A civil breakup.
Yeah. Look, I've said again and again, I want the West Coast to secede from the nation, and overnight, you know, Cascadia, as the movement is called, in which California and Oregon and Washington and British Columbia and Alaska all secede from the United States, that new country, Cascadia, as I like to call it, would become the most powerful and lucrative country in the world overnight. So I would really like to see that happen, but the people are not coming together, Manny. Anyone who's watching, I think, can see that.
All right. But yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen next. They have to go. But the problem is, it's a double-edged sword, because, I mean, let's say that you're a drug dealer, you declare your money, though. Your illicit gain money. How are you going to do that, though, unless you can plead the fee by submitting your taxes?
I don't know.
That's an interesting point. I don't know, take it easy.
Okay, Manny, it's always good to hear from you. Talk to you soon. So, I'm going to go heat up a cup of tea. I'm out of tea. And I have only one video for you this evening. It is an interview with John Bolton. And when I come back, I'm going to do a big fat bong hit. But first, I want to talk about John Bolton for a minute. The thumbnail in tonight's video with a Sesame Street character, or a copy of a Sesame Street character. I'm not sure which. I think it's supposed to be Grover. And Grover is pointing to the fact that jet fuel burns at 800 degrees and steel burns at 2,500 degrees, and so there's something being left out of the Twin Towers explanation, 9/11, 9/11, 9/11, and John Bolton was there. Okay, John Bolton was there when they used that excuse to lie us into war in Iraq, because, you know, America was on a war stance and we had been fighting in Afghanistan for over a year. And, you know, they created all these lies about why we had to go to war in Iraq, right? And and it wasn't that the world bought it. There was hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in the street protesting the Iraq war. My guess is millions of people. But I know hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. So it wasn't a done deal. Even certain aspects of the media were questioning this and questioning that. I remember Valerie Plame was a CIA undercover CIA analyst in Iran, and she was outed by the vice president, Dick Cheney, and so she was outed, meaning she's in this position where she's a covert CIA operative working in Iran, incredibly valuable asset, and then there's this garbage in the White House who wants to go to war in Iraq. Right? And one of the fabricated lies that they were using to go to war in Iraq was that Saddam had purchased a bunch of yellow cake uranium, which they could then refine down into nuclear material that they could build a bomb out of. Right? And that, you know, the bomb, they were building a nuclear weapon, right? Or at least acquiring the materials to make that happen. And we just couldn't allow that. So, which wasn't true to start with. And this brings us back to the whole Valerie Plame thing. Her husband, I can't remember his name right now. It wasn't Plame, though. But her husband was a journalist, and he was a former ambassador to, I can't remember what country he was an ambassador to. A very smart guy. I think it was like somewhere in the Middle East he was an ambassador. And he went to investigate the story. He went to Africa to investigate the story of Saddam purchasing this yellow cake uranium, and then came back after doing a thorough investigation of what happened and said, yeah, this is all a bunch of bullshit. And at that point, his wife, the undercover covert operative, CIA operative in Iran, incredibly valuable asset, was outed by the White House. They went on, they had I believe they released some kind of a press statement that was talking about her husband, I can't remember his name, who former ambassador, had gone to Africa to investigate the yellow cake claim. They did a press release about this, and they said that his wife was working for the CIA in Iran, and her name. So they outed this CIA operative, incredibly valuable asset, because her husband was debunking the lies that were being told by the White House and the Pentagon and the State Department, of which John Bolton was the head of. National Security. What was he? Was he ambassador to UN? I thought he was ambassador to UN for a minute. At any rate, what I'm saying is this guy came back, he debunked this, they outed this incredibly valuable CIA operative working undercover in Iran. But what I'm saying is the media was actually interviewing this person. this former ambassador who was talking about the fact that the yellow cake story was untrue. So there was lots of people around the world in this country who were against war, who were against the war. So when these people want to act like, well, it's no big deal, we murdered 1 million people, oh well. At least know that that it wasn't done completely blindly, okay? It was done with the help of the media. It was done because the yellow cake story should have been debunked by the media immediately. But it wasn't, because they were working hand in hand to push the lies that the White House had. But they couldn't allow this journalist, this former ambassador who had all this information about the yellow cake, go somewhere like the Huffington Post and take away their dwindling audience that they already don't have. So he had to come out and speak these things that that were these lies, debunk these lies, and then with the help of the media, and again, so my whole point was, I actually put a thumbnail of John Bolton for this video. I had a thumbnail of him sitting at the United Nations, and in a national security, what was it called? This Security Council meeting, right? Sitting there at the front of a Security Council meeting. I had that as a thumbnail, and one of the things that fucks up on YouTube is that when I go to say this is the show tonight, prepare, the preparation for, this is what we're doing tonight, get ready. When I go to do that, often when I push publish and I go to check to make sure everything is in place correctly, I go to the page where, this is the live show for tonight, and it'll just be no picture, just like a gray screen, like, this video doesn't exist anymore. And I have to go there every time because of this. And it won't let me just pick the same picture again. I have to pick a different picture and then go back and pick the picture I wanted, which takes, believe it or not, like 2 minutes out of my busy world. So the one that I used to erase the first one was the Grover one, in which he is explaining that steel melts at 2,500 degrees. I thought actually directly related to the death of 1 million innocent Iraqis, who John Bolton helped directly murder, and justify the murder of, again, 1 million innocent Iraqis, mostly women and children. This is who John Bolton is. And again, our country, our government, okay? I don't want to refer to our country. Our government and our country are two different entities. Our country is filled with good people. Our government is filled with the scum, the worst people imaginable, who portray themselves as godsends. Our country is filled with good people. Our government is filled with shit. So, I digress. What I'm saying is, it wasn't as if everybody was like, yes, Iraq must come down because Iraq can't be allowed to commit terrorist acts like happened on 9/11, and if we allowed them to build a bomb. No, people were up. People were speaking out. News stations, even the fucking corrupt media that can't wait to fucking have their next war, because the more war there is, the more people have to tune in to see this thing that they hate. But what happened today? Is it escalating? Are we headed towards peace? Is something getting better, or does it just keep getting worse? That works very well for the news. So, but like I said, they had no option as to whether to speak to this person or not because he's so high profile. So they spoke to him, and my point being is that in the consciousness, people knew that this was a lie. And so And it was a lie created out of the White House and spread through the Pentagon, spread through the State Department, spread through all different organizations that they could get it, right? And all the media. It was all a lie. Everyone knew it was a lie that was involved in spreading that lie. But a lot of the people were very aware of the fact that it was a lie. So, John Bolton, directly responsible for the death of 1 million innocent Iraqis, watch how he laughs. This is an interview with him. Watch how he laughs at the beginning of this, because it's all so funny. And don't forget how many people the United States assassinates. Not the United States. The U.S. government assassinates every year. Okay? So, oh my God, Iran.
Well, nobody's gotten to the bottom of 9/11, unfortunately, and they should have.
Just into CNN, we've now learned that multiple current and former U.S. officials have been given extra security due to Iranian threats. This comes after the U.S. Justice Department charged a former Iranian Revolutionary Guard member with trying to assassinate former National Security Advisor Ambassador John Bolton. A source revealing to CNN that former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was targeted by the Iranians as well. CNN National Security Correspondent Kylie Atwood has our report.
This is the man the FBI alleges tried to hire an assassin to kill former U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton, Shahram Poursafi, allegedly a member of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The FBI says that in 2021, Poursafi tried to get an informant to hire someone for $200,000 in order to eliminate someone. That number eventually grew to $300,000. Poursafi even sent screenshots of Bolton's home address and photographs of stacks of money to the informant. Poursafi allegedly said the killing should happen in Bolton's office garage, with the informant noting it was a high-traffic area. The FBI also alleges that Poursafi had a second job for $1 million. The target of that job? Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, according to a source familiar with the investigation and a source close to Pompeo. The Department of Justice said this about the motivation behind the Bolton plot.
This assassination plot was undertaken in apparent retaliation for the January 2020 killing of Qasem Soleimani.
Pompeo was Secretary of State at the time of the assassination.
We saw that he was plotting further plans to take down Americans, in some cases, many Americans. We took the right action to defend and protect America.
And though Bolton was no longer in the administration when the airstrike was carried out against Soleimani, a top Iranian general the Trump administration said was planning attacks on Americans, Bolton has long advocated for more hawkish U.S. policy towards Iran. After the Soleimani assassination, Bolton tweeted, quote, "Congratulations to all involved in eliminating Qasem Soleimani. Hope this is the first step to regime change in Tehran." And after today's news, Bolton thanked the Justice Department, the FBI, and the Secret Service, and said that Iran's rulers are liars, terrorists, and enemies of the United States. The suspect has not been arrested, but is wanted by the FBI after seeking to carry out this plot.
This was not an idle threat. And this is not the first time we have uncovered brazen acts by Iran to exact revenge against individuals on U.S. soil.
The plot against Bolton is just the latest allegation of Iran planning attacks on U.S. soil. In 2011, U.S. authorities said Iran was planning to bomb a D.C. restaurant to kill then Saudi ambassador to the United States and current Saudi Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Adel al-Jubeir.
This is happening in America.
And just last week, Iranian journalist and activist Masih Alinejad, a U.S. citizen who lives in New York, blamed the Iranian regime after a man carrying an assault rifle was arrested in her neighborhood, coming year after U.S. authorities say the regime was plotting to kidnap her. Alinejad delivered this message to the regime on CNN.
Go to hell. I'm not scared of you.
Now, today, Wolf, we are hearing from the current National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, who said that any action against any U.S. citizen by the Iranians will be met with severe consequences. We're also hearing from the Iranians with the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson warning against any action against any Iranian citizens based on what they say are baseless accusations. Wolf.
All right, Kylie, thank you very much. Kylie Atwood reporting. Let's discuss all of this and more with the former National Security Advisor, John Bolton. Ambassador Bolton, thanks so much for joining us. This suspect put a $300,000 price tag on your head. What goes through your mind, Ambassador, hearing the details of this plot as explained today in great detail by the U.S. Justice Department?
Well, I was embarrassed at the low price. I would have thought it would have been higher, but, you know, I guess maybe it was the exchange rate problem or something. I read the document with great interest. I had not seen it before. I was not aware of many of the specifics in it, although obviously I had long had a general understanding of what the threat was. And I think it's quite correct to say many other Americans are in the targets of this regime. It tells you what the regime is. It tells you about its character. And frankly, from my point of view, the regime's terrorist activities are just the other side of the coin of its nuclear weapons program. And any idea this regime will adhere to its commitments on anything is just a terrible delusion.
We now know the second job was for $1 million, and that involved Mike Pompeo, the former Secretary of State, former CIA director. Did you know he was also being targeted? Have you spoken with him, Ambassador?
I have not spoken with him. I was not aware that he was targeted as referred to in the charging document that was unsealed today. I've seen the press reports, and again, it wouldn't surprise me. I think there are a substantial number of people who are vulnerable to these Iranian efforts, and unfortunately, I'm afraid we may learn more. Not just former public officials, but as you just indicated, private American citizens who disagree with the regime.
CNN has, in fact, learned there are multiple current and former U.S. officials who are now already getting personal security due to these Iranian threats. Do you have a sense of who some of those officials are?
Well, I do have a sense. Some have told me. I don't think I ought to be the one divulging it on television. But as I say, I think the nature of the regime drives it to this kind of action. And I think it's a big mistake for the administration to continue to show weakness to Iran by begging to get back into the 2015 nuclear deal. I think it encourages Tehran to engage in just these kinds of terrorist activities.
I know you've said publicly that the former President Donald Trump actually lifted your Secret Service protection after you left the Trump administration, and you had to renew your request for protection under President Biden, which was in fact granted. What can you tell us about this process?
Well, the day I resigned, the Secret Service protection was withdrawn. The agents were pulling the bells and whistles off the outside of my house. Normally, you know, a detail would continue for another 3 months or something like that, just out of a sense of precaution, but that was not the way things were done. As the FBI warnings to me grew more severe as time went on, and the FBI was doing this pursuant to their process called duty to warn when they learn of a foreign threat against an American. Eventually, by the late fall of 2021, I asked if it's this serious, perhaps the Secret Service should be involved. And ultimately, President Biden made that decision, and I appreciate it, obviously.
Yeah, as you should. Does something like this, Ambassador Bolton, create fear in you, or is this part of what it means to be a public official?
Well, it's not something I volunteered for, that's for sure. It goes with the territory. I feel I'm in very good hands with the Secret Service. Look, I think everybody that I've been in contact with who's been involved in this, the attorneys at the Department of Justice, certainly the outstanding work done by the FBI, and the work equally outstanding by the Secret Service, I'm not worried.
Do you believe today's developments should put the nail in the coffin on the efforts that are ongoing right now to try to revive that so-called Iran nuclear deal?
Yes, absolutely. Look, I think the deal was a mistake in 2015. It hasn't gotten any better with age. The administration has been on its knees in Vienna begging to get back into the deal, which
Oh my God, on its knees begging, do you think this is the final nail in the coffin of Iran? These people, oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, they must know. They must know that. I don't know. I think a lot of people, they become so full of bullshit, they no longer are able to tell what's a lie and what reality is. Basically, everything in their head is more or less made up, which is kind of the way the memories and everything really work. I mean, I've talked about this. The only reality is now. Everything else is a chemical reaction. So what you're experiencing that you believe happened yesterday, oh, I did this and this and this, when you think about it, it's just a chemical reaction in your brain. It's not it's not the actual thing that happened. And there's questions about how exact the chemicals can get it in your brain. They just put it all together in a simple way that's easy for you to understand, more or less. So wherever it is I'm going, is it this? It's like it's like I always say, people are either in the future or they're in the past. They're like, oh, how am I going to pay for this, next month? How am I going to pay for everything? And, the reality is only in this moment. That's not happening in this moment. The reality is every month you pay the rent, without a doubt. And yet every month you seem to worry about whether you're going to be able to make ends meet. I'm just blah, blah, blah. What I'm saying is that this thing that you're worried about isn't real. What's in front of you, what you're experiencing in this moment, in your personal surroundings. It's like people are so afraid. The fear is programmed. Again, look around you. You look around you right in this moment, and you tell me what there is to be afraid of. Ooh, the COVID's over there in the corner. No. Oh, the Russians are gonna nuke us. Is right over. Oh, it's right there on the TV. I got the Russian nukes. See, it's right there. The COVID, there it is too. All this fear. It's all programmed. It's not who you are. It's not who humans, top of the food chain, is meant to be. Okay? Sharks don't swim around in the ocean, looking over their shoulder. Unless they're really hungry. But they're not afraid. They're not like, oh my God, what was that? They don't have anything. This is how humans are. But we're so separated. Our governments are so twisted and completely fucked up. The people in them are even worse. The people who are in positions of power in our government, they must just be some of the most sick individuals on the planet. When you look at Liz Cheney and she's talking about prosecuting Donald Trump as president, what he did was as president was evil. That's why they're having these hearings. What he did as president, we can't allow to ever happen again. She's co-chairing this hearing about Donald Trump. Her father murdered 1 million innocent Iraqis with lies that were made up at his desk in the White House. Oh, we can't ever allow something like this to happen. Donald Trump is the worst thing that ever happened to our country. The Bush presidency is the worst thing that ever happened to our country in my lifetime. If you, consider. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Bush president, Vietnam was a horrible thing. I don't remember it. I don't remember experiencing it. I don't remember experiencing repercussions from it so much more than, veterans just, with so much pain, veterans just broken people. That's all I really remember about Vietnam, personal experiencing. This thing about 9/11, which happened on Dick Cheney's watch. Liz, who the fuck voted for Liz Cheney? Fucking on her father's watch. Our country had the worst terrorist attack in the history of our country. These people were the worst leaders, George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, in the history of our country. These leaders, George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, militarized the police against everyday American U.S. citizens. And they broke the law. They kidnapped people and tortured them. But Donald Trump's an evil piece of shit. Horrible, horrible, horrible piece of shit. Horrible. And I really hate to say this. He pales in comparison to George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, Barack Obama, Joe Biden. Barack Obama was nicknamed the Drone King. Do you know why? Because he did more on his order. He promised when he was running for president that he would sign off on every single drone strike. It'd be on his desk. He'd decide whether or not that was the right thing. He became the drone king, not because he signed off on everyone, which he promised that he did, but because he did it in just way more than anybody could imagine. I think he quadrupled the number of drone strikes that Bush and Cheney did in the 8 years that they were in the White House. Barack Obama did quadruple what they did, including bombing, drone striking Doctors Without Borders, hospitals, medical units set up, and they did that multiple times. And wedding parties where people were there to celebrate something lovely. And Barack Obama would drone strike that wedding party, killing, again, women and children. And then you know what they do? When the ambulances would rush in to save the people that had been mangled by your tax dollars and our evil government. When the people, the first responders, the people who go in to help, when they rush to help these people who had been blown into pieces by your tax dollars, they flew more drones over and they double tapped the same area. A wedding party. And they did the same thing with the hospital, with the Doctors Without Borders hospitals, which they bombed multiple Doctors Without Borders hospitals. Didn't happen just once. And then they say, oh, it was an accident. Why would they do that in the first place? How is these doctors giving their lives to help people who desperately need it? How is it that they deserve that? But you know how? Because they're doing the right thing. Because they're actually good people. Because they're actually making a difference in the world. Even if it's just for these people. They made a difference. And the powers that be doesn't like that. Especially doesn't like a few individuals to be able to have that kind of power. Which is exactly what freedom is about. Is that, I've said this before. I repeat myself a lot. You notice that? But that's because I don't have any phone callers. forgot. I'm eating very good brownies right now. We were talking about drone strikes and double taps, and this is the point. It wasn't just wedding parties. It wasn't just one wedding party. It was multiple wedding parties, knowing that there's lots and lots of innocent people there. Okay, and it's important to understand who your government is and who the good guys are, right? Best president we ever had, Barack Hussein Obama. Oh, the drone king, I remember him. Double tap. We used to call him Double Tap back at the base. You know, this is who our government is, and somehow they're singling out Donald Trump as being the evil that occupied the White House. Again, it wasn't just wedding parties and Doctors Without Borders hospitals that Barack Obama drone strike. It was also funeral parties where people would go to bury their loved ones, and Barack Obama would drone strike those, both of which are considered to be crimes against humanity. Drone striking a wedding party, drone striking a burial. I would imagine drone striking medical would also be, but I bet it is not. It should be. There's no doubt about it. That being said, the people of this country, I don't want to believe, are this bloodthirsty fuckwads who want to give all of our resources to the military-industrial complex, because when they say that they're giving it to the Ukraine, it goes straight into the people who manufacture weapons, right? So in just the last 2 months, the military-industrial complex, on top of all the other money that they would normally get, have received like $200 billion extra dollars. In the guise of it being for the benefit of the Ukraine. Do you see that $200 billion with a billion dollars? Do you see it making a difference in the Ukraine? Do you think that $200 billion with a B dollars could have actually been making a difference somewhere? Could have maybe even in our own country? Wow, what a novel thought. Oh, but wait, it is making a difference in our country because it was given completely and wholeheartedly to the military-industrial complex without hesitation, which creates jobs in our country, in your communities, jobs that people need, good paying jobs. And they're right. I mean, they do create jobs, and people do need jobs, good paying jobs, and I feel sorry. I really feel sorry for the people who actually have a conscience about doing this kind of job. Making creations of death and destruction. In order to feed your family. Actually, I imagine there's this major conflict of interest, for some of them. And I feel really bad for those people because it's easy to understand why you would choose a paycheck and the ability to feed your family and, make sure your family has shelter and clothing and what it needs. It's easy to understand why someone would take that job. So, and I just wonder what percentage of them actually have some kind of conscience about what I'm building is going to kill a child somewhere in the world, probably a poor person, possibly someone's grandma. But I digress. This is a call-in show. I only made one video because I didn't sleep last night, and I'm a little bit rough around the edges, in case you didn't notice. Look, they say, oh my God, there's an assassination plot against John Bolton. You have to wonder how many assassination plots John Bolton had been directly involved in plotting, right? Because I'm sure it's more than one. And this whole thing, oh my God, it's an assassination plot to kill John Bolton. This is just the mainstream media. How we've watched the mainstream media be completely full of shit again and again and again and again and again and again. Oh, look, some moron online said they'll pay $300,000. Just because the United States government doesn't take an ad out in the paper for someone to assassinate someone doesn't mean that they don't assassinate. The U.S. government. The U.S. government assassinates people. The U.S. government has people in positions where they can assassinate people right now. And the reason that they're in those positions is solely for the purpose of being able to assassinate them right now. And is not just in foreign countries. So, you have to wonder, are they watching me? Of course they are. I'm under constant audio and video surveillance. All of us are. So, I can't believe how many cameras are in this house, right? And that doesn't include the hidden ones. There's ones in the TV that we don't know about. There's got to be ones in the phone that we don't know about. It's just the phone is too obvious not to put them in there. There's ones in so many. Alex Jones used to tell us that there's fucking microphones and cameras in our television sets, in our refrigerators. And you know what? He was right. And you know what? People are so comfortable with it that now they're taking their remote control, which obviously is listening to them and speaking into it and saying, I'd like to watch this. And acting like that's the only thing that the remote control hears. God, I love the U.S. government. Where would we all be without the U.S. government, right? I hate to think about it. All right, my little ninjas. I am out of videos, and I'm hungry, and my Boo Bear needs another walkie, or at least I'm going to try and get him out for another one. So we do this every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, which means we'll be back tomorrow. Same Mox time, same Mox channel. Did I say that right? Every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Wait a minute. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, which means we'll be back tomorrow, same Mox time, same Mox channel. And until then, stay cool. And I hope we see you tomorrow night. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please remember, it's always better when you're here, and I couldn't mean that more wholeheartedly.
No matter which mouth you feed on a two-headed snake, it still shits the same turd. But lucky for you, you have Mox News. More than 10 years. More than 60,000 videos. Mox News has been filtering the nonsense and illuminating the bullshit from your mainstream media. Turn off your TV and turn on to Mox News. For over a decade, documenting the socio-political events that have etched and carved the pathways that define today's modern mess, Mox News has been providing clarity while faithfully bringing you today's relevant stories 100% commercial-free and subscription-free. And just like Lady Liberty vows to remain free. But at this time, we're asking you for your help, your patronage, and your support to keep the lights on and the videos rolling. For less than 17 cents per day, you can become a basic subscriber, knowing that your donation is truly making a difference that will help continue bringing the news stories that make a difference in your life. Turn on, tune in, and drop a couple dimes today by clicking the link below or visiting moxnews.com and show your support at any level. From a single one-time donation or dedicated monthly subscriber, do it now in less than 2 minutes. All donations are safe, securely processed, and verified using PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover Card. As always, we're sure you'll find something of interest each and every day. This holiday season, give the gift of Mox. moxnews.com.
You got a pretty shape to your regime.
Not as pretty as Miss Augusta.
That a fact?
Mm-hmm. Miss Augusta got a real pretty shape.
That's so.
She got the prettiest shape I'd ever seen, black or white. She got a tiny waist and an ass that go like this, and skinny legs. She got skinny legs.
That's so.
And titties. You likes big titties, don't you?
Oh, you know I loves big titties.
She got big titties. And titties. You likes big titties, don't you?
Oh, you know I loves big titties.
She got big titties.